Welcome to the bold analysis. The startling intelligence, a last minute that arrived at the last minute decision for President Uhuru Kenyatta to pick the Ugandan airline is something that I wanted to get in this podcast. And I think I wanted to get a blow-by-blow account on the developments, because this decision to drop even the local flight, the local aviation industry for the Ugandan airline is something that has been drawing political interpretations, and many people are asking questions. So in this podcast, I want to try to answer one or two questions that Kenyans have been talking about. Now, I want to start here. When Uhuru Kenyatta left presidency last year in August, he was serving as the East African Community Peace Envoy, and of course in charge of the Nairobi process from the DRC. And remember, the inauguration was on 13th. Now, on 4th of October, Uhuru Kenyatta landed in a Kenya Air Force jet in Burundi. And that was just a month after him leaving the office. Now, this is the photo, and I think if you checked online, this is the photo that this is the photo that then drew people's attention to the fact that Uhuru Kenyatta has been using the Kenyan Air Force jet. And of course, there are mixed reactions as to whether he's being given because of the envoy job or because of his former president. Now, that question I want to answer. He was representing the East African community in that. Given Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta's background as a former commander of the Kenya Defense Forces, it is very true that military aircrafts are at his disposal. Resources like military aircrafts are at his disposal as a former president. And apart from just being the EAC envoy, as an Kenya Defense Forces, that is, and I have tried to put this call. Oh yes, I've tried to put this call to a former military guy, and I asked, what exactly, when Moi left, do Moi use the others? No, he said the first is military aircrafts. Then, if that option is not available, then he can settle on chartered planes. Now, so what happened? What exactly happened? William Ruto was on his official mission to attend the NAM summit in Uganda and used the official jet. Then, he was supposed to join up. He was supposed to go to Congo and with his delegation. Now, apparently, up until 2 days before yesterday, Uhuru Kenyatta was slated to use the official jet that he uses. Then things changed somewhere, and the government then said that if you check the delegation that went with Uhuru Kenyatta, with William Ruto, it was Mudavadi, Penina Malonza, Charles Keter, amongst some other people in his security details, that they were going to use Air Force. They were going to use a plane, and of course, there was a bit of congestion in terms of which one was available and which one was unavailable. So what happened was that, yes, Uhuru Kenyatta was to be given, but then it had not been decided which one. You know, the one you use might not be at your disposal, but which one you would actually be given. So, you need to be sure. So, that is one thing that happened. So, what then happened? Uhuru picked a chartered plane. And this is the plane that you can see. It is the background of that photo. I like doing photo analysis because my background is photography, and I'm normally very enthusiastic doing photo analysis. Look at that photo. The subject of that photo is not Uhuru Kenyatta. No. The subject of that photo is not Uhuru Kenyatta. And keenly listen, I want to explain for you. The distance between where the president is and where that plane is not very close. Now, if you check this photo, look at the height of the president and where the Ugandan that airline write-up is. Do you want to think that urefu wa president inatoshana na where that thing is? It's not. So what happened? So the person that took that photo was struggling to get the background, and this person was in front. Because if you want to attach significance to that, there is something called attaching significance to a photo. If that Ugandan airline had paid, I wanted to imagine, remove Uhuru Kenyatta and put Diamond. What will be happening? Diamond will be advertising that. So it was very clear that the photographer wanted to show us that Uhuru landed with Ugandan Airlines. He didn't use the KQ. So, do KQ have chartered planes? Yes. So then the question was, why didn't he use KQ even after the confusion the government had? Because it's really believed that he was actually denied, literally denied by being delayed. Denied, and a confusion brought up there. So Uhuru Kenyatta then picked up. Then, let me show you. This second photo, you can see Jessica Lupe, the VP, the vice president from Uganda, arrived minutes after Uhuru. Minutes after Uhuru, and they met in the VIP lounge while Uhuru Kenyatta was still in that VIP lounge. I want us to get it. She arrived. Moments after, she found Uhuru Kenyatta in that VIP lounge. And they met in that VIP lounge. Do you think it was just a coincidence for them to meet? There are so many other guests that were arriving in Congo. Why was it that the Ugandan VP was the person to meet Uhuru Kenyatta there? Can you ask yourself that question? Clearly, there was a meeting that had been scheduled. They were to meet there. Remember, William Ruto was also in Uganda the previous day. So there is something clear that the two chartered planes, I remember, I know very well that even the other one for the VP also arrived in a chartered plane. The arrival of those two planes, they did not use one plane. The arrival of those two planes is speaking volumes that there was something, a meeting that had been had to happen between him and the Ugandan VP. Now, minutes later, after this, Kalonzo Musyoka arrived. Now, this is the video of Kalonzo Musyoka. When you check this video, Kalonzo Musyoka arrived also with the KQ. In a KQ, and this one was not now a chartered plane. This was just the usual flights. Of course, some special, maybe economy and the other one. The other advanced of an economy, if it's normally there. So, and accompanied, you can see the KQ passengers disembarking from the other end. Kalonzo Musyoka and Uhuru Kenyatta are the two leaders outside Kenya Kwanza that attended. He also attended later. He also arrived later after Uhuru Kenyatta had arrived, even though it was at the same airport. Something happened. So can I tell you something about the Kalonzo presence? DRC conducted the elections on 20th. And Kalonzo Musyoka was supposed to lead a delegation of East African community observers to lead that delegation to DRC Congo. And the reports are that Uhuru Kenyatta had used his position to lobby for Kalonzo Musyoka to get that position. So for Kalonzo to have gotten it, it took the influence of Uhuru Kenyatta. Then Kenya Kwanza might have gotten wind of that. And a week before that election, that alliance between some rebel group, military and some politicians was launched in Nairobi in Serena. And we complained, people asked, why is it that Nairobi is hosting a rebel group, even allied to the M23, in Nairobi, and this group is the Congo River Alliance. That Congo River Alliance was actually launched here in Nairobi a week to an election that is happening in DRC Congo, while the former President Uhuru Kenyatta is the team leading peace process there. We questioned. Now see what happened. Later on, Tshisekedi, the president-elect, I think their government got annoyed. They were annoyed and they recalled their ambassadors from Tanzania and Kenya, complaining that East African community was not indeed in solidarity with them. So after the two ambassadors were recalled, that mission that was supposed to be led by Kalonzo Musyoka was cancelled. If you ask my friend Monica Ondiba, yes, Monica Ondiba from Uganda, thank you very much. Let me today just give you the shout out. We've been speaking in the background about the regional politics. And by the way, guys, I want to make a trip to Uganda. I realize there is such a very interesting political scene there. So, if you ask, she says that, Kevin, this was a scripted thing to ensure that Kalonzo doesn't lead that delegation. That delegation collapses, because if Kalonzo was going, then indeed he was going to pick quite a number of people on the opposition side. Some few, part of the secretariat will be on the opposition side, especially on the Kenyan side. So that failed. And that is why Kalonzo actually went there. Some people are asking why Kalonzo. So he did not attend. That was cancelled. And in a press release the secretariat released yesterday, they explained clearly why Kalonzo had to be there. Now, it is very clear that if Kalonzo was going, then of course they're going to touch base with Uhuru Kenyatta. So that is a bit of what happened. He arrived, something happened. Remember that there was a big social media blaze some few days ago about how Uhuru Kenyatta had constructed an airstrip in the Northland city. You remember that? People are raising, an airstrip, why constructed? Probably because they were already preparing for this. Now, there's some few constants I want us to look at. Number one, Uhuru Kenyatta could get an Air Force jet to fly to DR Congo in his capacity as the EAC peace envoy. Because as the EAC peace envoy and is leading the Nairobi peace process, which is helping the DRC Congo, he was literally supposed to attend. Leave alone as a former president, or there is a theory of him being a friend of Tshisekedi. But leave alone that theory. Even the mere fact that, leave alone even the theory of him being a former chief of defense forces. No. He was supposed to get. Number two, if that was not even the case, he could still get chartered plane from Kenya Airways, which is our local aviation, which is in our aviation space. That's two. Number three, Kenya government also could facilitate his flight to DRC Congo, even if he was to use that chartered plane or the other plane. But it was very critical for him to pull the last minute card and leave that official, just leave the Kenyan government out of his itinerary. And I want to explain for you this, my deep thought understanding on how those those developments made his team to change mind and pick that Ugandan airlines. Number one, I think Ruto declined giving Uhuru Kenyatta the Kenya Air Force jet because he doesn't want continued Uhuru Kenyatta links with the military. Sorry. Remember, Uhuru Kenyatta has been close to the military. He's been alien to the military. Even by the time he was leaving, he had a very close contact with the men in uniform. Now, by understanding that the more he continues using that Kenya Air Force, he's making inroads into the military. Remember, I have read the benefits, retirement benefits. We need to put it straight. Not that it is part of the retirement benefits. I'm just saying, as a former, those resources can be at his disposal. If Uhuru Kenyatta falls sick and is supposed to be flown somewhere, we'll use the military. The military will fly him very fast. So, I think that is one thing. And because, Uhuru had a very good relationship with the military when he was leaving, William Ruto has tried, but I don't think he really fancies them. He has not shown bit of that, much of their entitlement working, his commitment to work with the military. Now, that is the second point. That is the first point why interpretation of that intelligence. Number two, I think Ruto handlers were trying to push Uhuru out of the DRC event. And how or why? Uhuru has been outshining William Ruto in the region. Yes, Uhuru has been outshining William Ruto in the region. William Ruto has had a war with Uganda over this oil, has had a fight with Tanzania over this, just the same thing on some cargo air. Recently there was some Kenya Airways flight that was even banned going to Tanzania. Sometime during the negotiation talks, Samia Suluhu arrived here, William Ruto even declined to talk to him. So the Uganda, the Tanzania, not the Uganda, the Sudan. So, and again, he's also believed that Uhuru Kenyatta is a very close friend to Tshisekedi. So he knew that if indeed Uhuru will go there, Uhuru will even get some limelight and would outshine him. Clearly, they wanted to ensure that probably he gets annoyed and decides not to go. That is a script that was done last time. In February, just through this peace process, there was a meeting that was supposed to be in Dubai. Then what happened? I can remember Alfred Mutua, who was the tourism CS by then. Was it not tourism? Was in the foreign affairs docket. What Alfred Mutua did, he decided to trickle down to reduce Uhuru Kenyatta's itinerary and details, and Uhuru got annoyed and cancelled the Dubai trip. Now that was what was going on here. That probably if we akikasirika na sisi goza hataenda. I think I am also seeing some regional diplomacy. Uhuru is standing with Uganda on this whole oil diplomacy with Kenya. Kenya has, we've not been so much of a good neighbor to Uganda, especially on this discussion about oil and banning of some imports from Uganda, especially the milk. We've had those squabbles. And Uhuru is showing that I am standing in relationship with Uganda. And again, it's a big message to Kenya Kwanza that while you might think that you are you're demeaning my image, you are doing everything to hurt my image, but in the region, I am still a stalwart. Because honestly, the dominant image from that photo is that Uganda helped Uhuru Kenyatta after Ruto declined. And of course, even Poli said about that. Lastly, I think Uhuru Kenyatta was avoiding state radar that will be planted on him, especially at this critical time. They know very well that there is a very keen interest on really following what Uhuru Kenyatta is doing and saying everywhere. If he was to take charter sponsored by, because Kenya cannot pay for him a chartered plane to DRC na near Uganda, Kenya has to pay this one for KQ. They know. So what Uhuru also did not want is a situation where you're given a pilot here, you're given some security staff and all that, then they take radar of what you're doing, who you're meeting, and maybe your private engagements. This is something that I see because, and I'm drawing this point from the fact that it's not a coincidence that they arrived with the Museveni's VP at the same time in that airport and they met at that VIP launch. That meeting was it was something organized. I don't think it was just a coincidence. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what is your thought, but I think I've given you much of that which I have gathered through the day. Thank you.